Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading an Arlecchino Listener by me. So let's get into it. The sound of children laughing echoed through the halls of the orphanage. As you sat cross-legged on the floor, a book open in front of you, Lenny and Lynette sat on either side, their eager eyes fixed on you as you animatedly read the next part of the story. Perhaps they were a little older than this, but it was something they enjoyed, and the little children just so happened to be very fond of that time. And Lenny and Lynette had no qualms about just resting a little bit and watching you as you mimicked the voice of a villain in a ridiculous way. It was fun, and something to just take their mind off of all the work that they have to do. And then the dragon spread its wings, roaring so loud that the mountains shook. You exclaimed, your voice dropping dramatically for effect. Lenny gasped, his hands clapping together dramatically. Perhaps he was putting on a bit of a performance for the kids, and Lynette did not seem very amused. Tell me they slayed the dragon with magic. Lynette rolled her eyes, and did not deign him with a response. Patience, you'll just have to wait and see. The warm scene should have been comforting for anyone watching, but not Arlecchino. She stood at the doorway, leaning against the frame with her arms crossed. Her eyes observed the scene quietly, as a faint frown tugged at the corners of her lips. She said nothing until the story ended, and the children dispersed, leaving you to stretch and gather the book. You've got a talent, she said finally, her voice smooth but carrying a sharp edge. Startled, you looked up and saw her standing there. Oh, Arlie, I didn't realize you were there. She stepped into the room, her boots clicking softly against the wooden floor. You're quite the storyteller, she remarked, though her tone did not quite match her compliment, and you furrowed your brows, picking up on the tension in her voice. Is something wrong? Her gaze flicked to the doorway, where the children had disappeared, before landing back on you. They're always so eager to be around you. It's as if I'm the forgotten one now. The comment took you aback. What? That's not true, Arlecchino. They adore you. Do they? Because it seems to me that every time you're here, I become secondary. Perhaps they just don't like the father who only gives them orders. You set the book aside and stood, walking over to her. Okay, maybe you have a point. You're strict, and maybe that's why they act this way with me. But they look up to you, Arlecchino. You're their protector, their guidance. I'm just someone who reads them stories and helps them out. But it's you who makes them feel safe. Trust me. Her crimson eyes softened, slightly, and she averted her gaze. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way. I see how they run to you, how they smile at you. It's different. Gently, you reached out to touch her arm, and she didn't pull away. You're the reason they smile, you know, he said softly. You've given them a home, a family. They have this because of you. She looked at you then, the faintest vulnerability flickering in her eyes. And yet, they seem happier when it's you they're with. You sighed, stepping closer until you could take her hands in yours. That's not true. They feel safe and loved because of you. And I'm just an extra pair of hands to help. If they like me because of the fun that they have when I'm around, it doesn't mean that they just don't love you the same way. They show their love differently, or feel it differently. And that's fine. They just come to me when they need someone to keep them busy. But it's you who they trust. You who makes them feel protected. It's because of you that they sleep at night, knowing that they have someone who cares for them. Her grip on your hands tightens slightly. You mean that? Of course I do. The children love you. They may laugh with me, but they look to you for everything else. You're their father. Her lips pressed into a thin line, but the tension in her shoulders eased slightly. It's hard not to feel jealous sometimes. I'm not used to sharing. You smile gently, lifting one of her hands to your lips and pressing a soft kiss to her knuckles. And you don't have to share anything. The children may love me, but you'll always have a place in their hearts that no one else can fill. And you? Do I have a place in your heart? Her smile widened, and you took a step closer, your arms wrapping around her waist. You have my whole heart, Arlecchino. Now and always. For a moment, she said nothing, her arms hesitating before wrapping around you in return. The steady beat of her heart against yours was the only sound in the room, and the tension seemed to melt away entirely. You have a way with words. Comes from all the storytelling. She chuckles, and she pulls back slightly, her crimson eyes softer than before. Thank you for reminding me, she said, her voice low but genuine. Always. But if it helps, I can let them know you're a better storyteller. I think they already know who their favorite is. But then I will take your only job, wouldn't I? You laugh softly, pressing a soft kiss to her cheek. Maybe you're right. I guess this is the way it's meant to be then. Her arms tightened around you briefly before she pulled back. Let's check on them. Before Lenny decides to start practicing his tricks on Fremini again. Right behind you, he replied, taking her hand in yours, as you walked together toward the sound of laughter that was echoing down the hall.